It's Monday, and guess what? Guess what, Eric? I made it through. I made it through the weekend.
Yeah, that was a big one.
I almost didn't. I'll tell you what, West Virginia fans, it was a gut wrencher, and I really thought after getting my heart broken on Monday night, same type of scenario. The game was looking real good, like they had it in hand, and then it just the wind the wind just went out of the sails, just went flat. That's what happened with the Mountaineers. With 6-7 minutes left, I said, if they put up another score, I think we're just going to start walking to the car. And that's exactly what I did. I left that game, guys.
You got to have more faith, brother. You got to have more faith.
I do have faith, but there's, like 10 hours of asphalt beer. I only had maybe 2 beers, but it was just, I was exhausted. And it was well worth all that time. And I will sit in a Dick's parking lot and listen to that result time and time again because it was fantastic. Eric, what were your feelings when you listened to that game?
Oh, that game was fantastic to watch on TV or live. But in particular on TV, it gave me the chance to run. Every once in a while, my blood pressure was spiking. It was too much. I'd walk out of the room. I would do anything. And then I'm like, all right, I'm calmed down. I can go back in. And, I would check. And, I think a lot of fans do the superstition kind of thing. If the game improved when I walk out of the room, then I can't watch the rest of the game. I didn't do that because that's crazy. I'm not superstitious. I'm just stitious.
My left butt cheek is good luck, so I'm just gonna lean on that one until the other one falls through, right? No,
yeah, all these things.
So everybody's already went through like what happened, but we're gonna go through it for ourselves just because, we have to. It is the Pitt game. We're gonna talk a little bit about Kansas on the back end. We're gonna talk about the stats, talk about the Big 12, but right now, let's talk about quarterback play. Quarterback play overall, I would say, was kind of flat, and then the end of the game was an A+.
I think that's fair. I think there were, you had moments of spikes here and there. Scotty's first appearance was really good. The catch and run was just incredible. Terrible that there was the injury at the end, but actually both players got injured. But I was actually glad to see Nico get some time on the sideline because I genuinely think that I think Rich goes over replays on the tablet with the quarterbacks to kind of explain what's happening on the field and what to help them understand what they're seeing. And I noticed that when Nico came back, he was doing better.
I agree. I think that's time well spent. Jalen Henderson still looked a little bit. He did. We talked a little bit before the game, before the show about this. When Nico was in, it seemed like the ends collapsed. When that pocket folded in, there was no place for him to go. When Jalen went in, he escaped a few times, and that kind of changed the dynamic of the defense going forward.
For the rest of the game.
For the rest of the game. And then when you got Fox in there, they still had to respect that outer edge, that them being able to escape. So that opened up Edwards. And, boy, he is, as the old ball coach who used to say, they are who we thought they were. Yeah, I mean, he is the man we thought he was. And my goodness.
Shane, you called that. You called that early on, and I hadn't really watched tape on him yet. And you turned me on to him, and I looked him up on YouTube. My goodness, he is every bit as good as advertised.
Yeah, and he doesn't look fast because he's so lanky. Like Eric Dickerson. Like you realize he went past, and it's like, oh, that was just 2 steps. But it's just like Brent Kiesel was talking about Michael Vick. He's like, I turn a corner, I go to grab him, I take a step, and he's 5 steps ahead of me. That's the difference, that closing speed. Like you think you're on the guy, and that's what Jalen Henderson did. Like he breaks through that little collapsing pocket and got 6 yards, and where Nico would probably get maybe 3 or 4. That makes a big difference in distance and direction when you're if you do make a mistake, get behind. There were a lot of second and 12s and some strange situations they kept putting themselves in. Not as bad as Pitt, though, as far as the penalties.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Pitt really shot themselves in the foot. Um, Narduzzi was saying he felt the officials treated him poorly. I disagree. I thought I thought the officials were very involved. I don't think they did the best job, but I don't think there was any bias certainly against Pitt. In fact, I saw a lot of no calls that I think favored Pitt. Um, the fumbles that weren't called fumbles, there were a few of those.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that play right before the half? Or right before the half.
Yeah, right before the half, you did see a state trooper. There's a picture of him smiling while Rich Rod is giving that poor ref the riot act. And, I was one of the boo birds. I was booing because here's the thing. You would think that there would be some sort of, you add 15 yards to the kick or the spot of the foul for the kickoff on the, the next quarter. Or you get a 2 seconds added onto the clock. I don't know. There has to be some rule adjustment because they did call it right. You looked it up, and what do you think? Do you think that's fair and right aren't always the same thing? So
I love it, man. Right is oftentimes subjective, and unfortunately, I do think they made the right call. It was ironic if Nico had fallen on his butt with 0, left on the clock, we actually get an extension. But because he was down at 1 second, there's a little bit of time left. And at that point, the defense has the option to call a 10-second runoff. And the only way that the offense can offset that is with a timeout. And that's why that referee made that weird statement about the timeout that everybody's like, what in the hell does that have to do with anything? It just wasn't explained very well.
Yeah.
It's a terrible rule. Terrible rule.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That's unfortunate, but fortunately for us, I just got out of focus. So let me fix that real quick. I have a remedy. And the cure is more cowbell. There I am. So you get to see my big, fat, beautiful face. So, guys, listen. So, if you don't know, I live about 2 hours from Morgantown. And we made it back in about an hour and 30 minutes because my buddy drives like a maniac. So, we were trying to listen to the post-game show. And Rich Rod was almost, I wouldn't say unprofessional, but unlike himself. He's always emotional, but he was emotional to the fact that it's almost like those cats that get interviewed after an accident or after a Bigfoot sighting. They're just like, they're amped up. And it's like, it was great. It was like talking to a kid on Christmas. What are your thoughts?
When Rich came back, he said, I'm not the same coach I was 20 years ago. I hope I'm a better coach today and now than from 20 years ago, and I hope to be a better coach next week and next year. And you hear that kind of stuff, and you're thinking, okay, it's coach speak, kind of no. I thought that is possibly one of the best post-game pressers from any head coach ever. He made points without having to say them exactly. And you're right, he was like a kid. He was like a kid at band camp that had too much sugar. He was wound tight. Yeah, it was great. I loved. He made the point about the kids, and if you're really worried about them, why are they still in the game? If you're really worried about them, that rule needs to be changed. If you go out, I especially on defense, there's already a rule in place to prevent that. They obviously didn't study up on that. But I think it should be automatic. It should not be a determination. It should be the kind of thing you go down, You don't come back in for at least 4 plays. Rich suggested it, the rest of the offensive series that might be a little bit extreme. Rich may be politicking there, but four downs. I think that's fair.
I call it the Rich Rod hurt feelings rule. You could fall down because you have hurt feelings, and Rich Rod says stay the F out of the game because that they were flopping, and you don't do this kind of stuff. I have to get my prop. Hold on, it's caught up into my. You don't sit there and do this. When hey, are you feeling okay? Are you feeling okay? Is it a cramp? By the way, you're going to do cover 2. Now, like, come on, they're doing plays.
They didn't normally. If somebody has a cramp, you see somebody stretching them out on the field. That never happened, and those guys walked off, and miraculously they were in the same series.
Oh my gosh! They get up there like hallelujah, woo! Like they got like, oh man, what was that? Like they tore an ACL or something, and then all of a sudden they're just like, ooh, just rub some dirt on it.
It's funny. There was a lot of cases during this game, and the backyard brawl is always like this. There's always weird little things that happen. There's things that are difficult to predict that have big consequences. We can talk about Oliver Straw's amazing one-handed catch on the bad snap. But getting back to officiating, losing our linebacker 33, I forget his name.
Targeting. It was technically like this much of his head, like just a little bit. It was kind of.
They're going to call that all the time this year, and we're going to, and it's a stupid rule.
They're going to call it.
Anything above in the neck or head area, and even if it's just you come rushing in, because most linemen are taught you rush in with your arms up to affect the throw. The problem is you follow through with that because these guys are 250 plus pounds. They're not ballerina. They aren't that kind of. They don't have that kind of coordination. They're going to follow through. They're going to run into the quarterback. You're going to see so many penalties as a result. It was the right call, but it's stupid. What we're going to end up teaching defensive defenders is that you take their quarterback's knees out.
No, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to start just cutting them in two.
Stupid.
So, do you think, talking about heat for Pitt, do you think Narduzzi's on the hot seat? His booty cheeks are warming up.
If he wasn't, let's put it this way, I think Pitt needs to be appreciative of him. I don't care for the guy, but not a Pitt fan. I think he's done pretty well for Pitt. They have not had a good run before then with their coaches, but losing to West Virginia when they were up by 10, he's feeling the heat that Neil Brown felt last year.
Yep.
And people are all over him. I'll tell you something else that's got to be weighing on Panthers fans' minds. When you look at the PFF, so if you have good recruits, if you look at the average scores of your recruits, a lot of times it's a great indicator to how your team's going to perform and comparatively against another team. You got to have talent to win games. Well, their scores are better than ours. There's no doubt about it. However, Rich is outstanding at getting the right guys for his system. And his system doesn't care about recruiting scores, stars, and all that. He's good at judging talent, always has been. Narduzzi's team scored better on their PFF ratings than we did. But we came away with the most important statistic.
Paper-wise, they look better on paper.